Hey guys, it's Josh here. I just wanted to give you guys a quick content warning. This episode contains some discussions about uh, depictions of sexual assault and physical violence. So I'm just going to give you that warning right up front. And okay, on with the show. In this world, is the destiny of mankind controlled by some transcendental entity or law? Is it like the hand of God hovering above? At least it is true that man has no control, even over his own podcast.
His own podcast. Now, I'd like everybody
Yeah,
to. I'd like everybody to
like the
think about this for a second.
the collective podcast of the universe.
What is
You know,
what
we
is
are all
what does podcast really mean?
we are all a podcast.
We
The
are
podcast is us. We are the podcast.
The pod
and the podcast
collective.
is us. We are inside of the podcast.
We are in the-
but we are also the podcast itself.
We're Jesus. We're God.
We are like the
We're Godcast.
Aristotle. Like according to Aristotle, we are both a podcast and then a podcast within the podcast. So it's like a podcast donut with a podcast donut hole.
Are you talking
And
about
both
like
of them are
ego
us.
and ego like what the hell are you on about Aristotle talking about donuts?
I don't know,
Am I
man.
losing
Just
my
making
mind
shit
or are
up.
you?
Maybe we're both losing our minds in this podcast we live in. We
Well,
live in a podcast.
welcome to the Berserk podcast. This
We're
is
just
How
naming-
to
we're just-
Otaku, and I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce it because I feel like if I don't like disassociate right now to do this, we won't get it done. So, hi Josh,
Hi, Brogan.
what's up?
This is How to Otaku.
Nice.
You've completely just...
No, I said that. I already said that.
Well, but we had a thing. You know, we
Okay.
have like
okay. 3,
an
2,
introduction.
1, and this is How to Otaku.
And this is How to Otaku.
Fucking Christ. Josh, tell the people about the bonus episode for the Patreon so I can yell about Guilty Gear for 10 minutes.
Okay, so we had a discussion over what the next bonus episode will be, and we have decided that it will be the musical-ish. It's like
It's the Daft Punk anime. It's
a-
Interstellar
yeah, it's a Daft
555.
Punk anime. Yeah, I was trying to find a way to like eloquently describe
It's
it.
the
but
Daft Punk anime.
It's the Daft Punk anime. If that interests you, come over to the Patreon this upcoming weekend, this Friday, and you know,
not
we'll be
today.
discussing that.
The Friday after this comes out.
Yeah. All right. Woo. Well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, the big news, I guess, the next Guilty Gear game is finally out.
Body's bullshit blazing, still my heart is blazing. If the words kill me, I don't need a new one under you. Soon you will know, we already know the smell of the game.
Guilty Gear Strive is out, and it's been all I've been doing. I work,
Give me.
I sleep, I eat, I ignore my homework until the last possible second. Also, I can play Guilty Gear Strive. It's consumed my life.
All right, so like we will get into Guilty Gear at some point. Like we were even considering like just doing this, like covering the story mode,
Right,
as a
like
bonus
a bonus
but,
episode.
like,
I kind of want to. I want a Guilty Gear lore pill, Josh, because I feel like the Guilty Gear lore is interesting enough, or at least nonsensical enough if presented the right way, that it's interesting to listen to somebody talk about.
I know that there's like I was listening to a podcast that was kind of like covering the general history of Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
From like the first game to the last, but like, you know, not like the lore stuff, but they were talking to a guy who like has started a podcast entirely dedicated to like covering the lore on a game to game basis.
Oh, yeah.
So like,
And
this is a thing we could talk about for forever.
You could do that. because there's a lot of shit that people are still like generally unclear on, even from some of the older games. Because for like the first two games in the series, or maybe it was the first three, depending on how you look at versions and stuff, because Guilty Gear was just as guilty of the fucking Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Champion Edition Rainbow Island, right? Like it's just as guilty of that as anybody else was. So a lot of the story in those games is like given through win quotes. So do you know how like in fighting games at the end of a round the winning character will have like a little animation like yata I did it or like whatever. And then newer games are doing a lot of like win animations. The older games did win quotes. And all of the story in Guilty Gear for like the first 3 games was only divulged through win quotes.
Okay, so like you had to basically piece together the story of the game based on like whatever the people were saying after you won.
Yep.
So like
and
whatever
it's character specific, and it's specific even to the other character that you beat.
Okay.
And sometimes there are special conditions that can like change it. So a lot of
That's
the
interesting.
so that's why it's been like a big undertaking recently to try and like compile Guilty Gear lore for people who just don't want to fucking do that. Because there are stories on a game-to-game basis. Like, in the arcade mode, there's a pretty distinct and clear story. But some of the other shit is, like, hidden in, like, text obscura. It's, like... it's kind of ridiculous. Daisuke's our boy.
Yeah, but we were considering doing the story mode as like its own bonus episode because like it essentially functions as like a lore movie, you know?
It's like a 12 episode anime. It's like 4 or 5 hours of animation. Like it's chunky. And I feel like I need to lore pill Josh before I make him watch that, because I don't know how coherent it is without knowing anything about these people. Especially because what I've heard, because I haven't watched it yet, from what I've heard, like a long-held mystery is unveiled at some point in this movie.
Yeah, one thing I was gonna ask is like the Guilty Gear Strive main campaign, does that like cover like most of the essential information you need
I don't know
to like understand it?
See, that's the thing. I
haven't
haven't watched it yet, so I don't know if it does a good job filling you in on like who Soul is and what he's done for the past 7 games. Because like Soul is like the main character basically. When anybody that I've heard is describing Guilty Gear to somebody, it's a lot along the lineage of what Soul, Bad Guy, and Kai Kisk do. Because they do a lot.
Interesting choice to have the main character's last name be Bad Guy. Very interesting choice.
There's a reason for that. There's lore. It might have something to do with Freddie Mercury. We can get into it later.
Man, that's like some JoJo shit.
That's exactly why I like it. But yeah, fucking Guilty Gear Strive, man. Like, I saw you've been playing Xrd lately. What do you know about Strive?
Well, I certainly know that Strive is like, it's kind of an iteration that's supposed to be like, I heard from a lot of like people that it's supposed to be kind of a place where like newcomers can come into it.
Definitely.
Like,
it's a little simpler, it's a little slower. But like not in ways that make it bad
worse.
Like it's they've done an amazing job with it.
Yeah, and like the big thing that they implemented this time around was the rollback netcode, which essentially like uses artificial intelligence to make the gameplay more seamless between like online matches,
It,
which is super dope.
it's a little more brute force than that. I watched a
I
video on
mean,
it today, and it's a little more brute force than that. Basically, what it is your computer shows you your inputs instantly. Your opponent's computer shows them your inputs as soon as it receives them. And so there's a little bit of a delay in place so that that's more seamless. But basically, if I jump, then I see that I've jumped before my opponent sees that I've jumped. But it's only like a hundredth of a second or something, so it doesn't matter. Just long enough for the signal to reach the other person's computer, and then they crop out, like they speed up the animation by just a little bit to compensate for the
oh,
fact that they've missed the startup of the animation. And the reason they do that is because it's a predictions algorithm kind of, but it always predicts that you're going to be doing the last thing that you were doing on a frame to frame basis.
okay. That's
So like if I'm blocking last frame, next frame I'm probably still going to be blocking. And so it automatically sends blocking to the opponent's computer and then updates it as soon as it gets the information.
wow. I mean, like, I guess that's kind of like, I remember it being a little bit more like, somebody told me that it was artificial intelligence related, and that's what I got.
It's vaguely an AI, but it's like it's not doing it, and it's apparently very hard to get working correctly, but it's not
Yeah.
an incredibly difficult concept, it doesn't seem like to me.
Yeah, I've been fascinated with that. I've been like, I recently discovered Evo, and like, I wanted to like, and like, they hadn't done it the past year, so like, I think they just started doing it again. But like,
God. Do you know about the Daiga parry?
no, I don't.
You don't know the
No.
Daigo parry. Oh, Josh, I'm gonna fighting game pill you.
Okay, you can send this to me after the podcast.
Yeah, I
After
will.
we're
I
done talking
will.
about Berserk. Okay.
I could talk about Guilty Gear forever, but I think it's time to talk about the thing that you're here to listen to.
Oh, one thing I could ask about Guilty Gear right before we get into that
Yeah.
is like, would you recommend I get it?
Yes.
Because like, I don't know if I want to spend $60 on a fighting game. Like, I'm still getting into the fighting game thing, Like, apart from Smash, I've never really played any to any like major extent. So like, I don't know if I want to make that investment yet.
This
Would
game,
you recommend it?
I would 100% recommend. If you're even slightly interested in fighting games, get this one as soon as you can. If you're even thinking about it, get this one as soon as you can. It's very, I don't want to say new player friendly, because when a lot of people hear that, they're like, ugh, ugh.
Yeah.
But it's got a very good like set of missions. They're called missions. It's not the tutorial. You have to do them after the tutorial. And they are
Okay.
very thorough about explaining mechanics in the game to you. The only thing that I wish it had was combo trials, but even then that's kind of high-ish level, because combo trials are meant to say these are combos that are like that the dev team explicitly found and said, okay, let's show people how to do this. That's not in this game. So you have
Alright.
to make your own combos and find your own way of playing. But I think that is, in a sense, freeing for a lot of players, because I know a lot of people are like, okay, well, I need to do the tutorial, and then I need to do arcade mode, and then I need to do the combo trials so that I know all my combos before I start playing online. And this game just doesn't have combos as like a mode in the game to sink time into. So you either just ignore them or learn to play while you're doing matches. And I think that is so much better, because you don't have to rely on big flashy combos to get your kills.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, it's I would definitely recommend it. Like
I
100%.
wonder.
I bought it. I bought the special edition and then I bought the base game again for my friend because I just got paid and I was like, fuck it, I need more people to play this game with. I've bought it twice. I can recommend it.
All right, excellent. I'll see if it's on sale on like Green Man Gaming or whatever.
Yeah. It'll
All
be a
right.
while before that happens probably cuz it just came out.
I mean, I don't know. Like Green Man Gaming usually finds like really good deals on stuff. Like I got $10 off RE8 like the day it released. So,
Right. Well,
all right. Well, let's get into Berserk. Wow. Okay. Finally getting into Berserk. So, yeah, let's first like get some stuff out of the way. Like, this is based on the late Kentaro Miura.
Miura.
Am I pronouncing it? Yeah, Kentaro Miura's manga, and it's basically an abridged version of the Black Swordsman and Golden Age arcs,
Yeah.
from what I can read. So, um, and by the way, we're covering episodes 1 through 14 this
14,
episode,
yes.
and we're gonna spoil a lot. So go watch it. It's available on YouTube. Don't say I said
It's available on
anything.
YouTube. Josh, why are you whispering? They can't hear you.
Yeah, I suppose that if the rights holders cared, they would have done something about it by now. But you know, I just want to cover my ass. All right.
Fair enough.
Okay. So, I know that you're mostly familiar with this from the manga. So, like, do you want to talk about like your relationship with it and like what you feel about this as an adaptation?
I don't have. I'm more familiar with it from the manga, but I've only read like 2 volumes and none of it was this. I've
Oh, okay.
seen and bounced off of this like several times. I watched the first like 10 minutes of the first episode. I just couldn't make myself give a shit. So I just like haven't stuck through it until now. And I'm so glad that I finally put the obligation on myself to watch through this because I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah, that first episode is kind of odd because like it doesn't really have any connection with like the rest of the show as far as I know, apart from like the main character and the world, but you know, but like apart maybe like the first episode basically happens and then everything prior to that is what happens in the first season to my knowledge. So,
Which also I think there's some weird overlap because I went back and read the first couple of chapters of Berserk, or at least what's considered the first couple of chapters when you buy volume 1 on Amazon,
mhm.
on Kindle. So, and that opening bar scene is almost identical to like the first chapter of Berserk.
Hmm.
Everything else after that, I'm almost positive this is not where that goes because instead of saving a little girl, he's saving a fairy named Puck.
Okay.
And I'm pretty
I
sure
know
he like
yeah.
meets and goes through all the stuff with Puck before he ever. No, that can't be right. I don't know. I don't know the timeline of Berserk at all. Like I've read like 3 chapters from as far as I can tell the very beginning and then
Yeah.
watched the first half of this. And I know that this is the Golden Age arc and I think it's somewhere like kind of early
Yeah.
but not the first thing. I don't think it's the first thing.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I think that like the timeline is like the Golden Age is like the second to first arc, like chronologically, but like it's the one that they've chosen to like base this series on, I suppose, mostly. Apart from the first episode, which is like a heavily abridged version of the Black Swordsman arc.
Okay. So the Black Swordsman arc is the first 3 volumes, and then the Conviction arc. Oh no. Huh. Oh, I see. There's the Black Swordsman arc and then the Golden Age arc. What? No, this is weird. So the Berserk wiki is telling me it seems that. Hey guys, Brogan from the future here. This is the part of the podcast where I spend about 3 minutes looking at the Berserk wiki and then completely misunderstanding everything that I saw. Basically, the Black Swordsman arc takes place from volume 1 to volume 3, and then the Golden Age arc takes place from volume 4 to, I want to say, volume 12. It might be volume 14. Basically, that's all you need to know. The Golden Age arc is a flashback, but it doesn't interrupt the Black Swordsman arc like it does here. In the anime, it kind of interrupts it after episode 1, and then everything else is the Golden Age arc. They're 2 separate things in the manga, and that's really all you need to know.
Mm-hmm. Which is very strange because, like, well, maybe it comes back to it at the end of the show, but, like, to have, like, such a different, like, opening to it, like, and then to flash back to something that's, like, tonally a little different, I think, like, a little less, like, obliquely dark, you know.
Right.
Like, the first episode sets up, like, a really dark fantasy world.
Ooh, right.
Where, like...
No, okay, so I see what's happened.
Huh?
The bar thing is at the end, right? The whole thing is a flashback from shortly after the bar scene, I guess.
Yeah, like there's the bar scene, and then like he tracks down some like snake demon or something and kills it.
That's
and
right.
Then everything afterwards is a flashback. Like, I'm pretty sure like the last thing that happens in the first episode is that the flashback starts, and then it goes
right,
from there.
because you see the brand on the back of his neck, and then there's the flashback, and I think in the first couple, is he doing the winky squint yet in the first scene, or do we not see winky squint guts in this
squint?
yet? Yeah, he does. He has a
haven't-
little winky squint. I think he gets his eye popped out or something at some point, and he has a little winky squint.
No, that hasn't happened yet.
No, I know that hasn't happened in the show yet, but I'm saying like in the first scene, did he
episode.
look like that?
I don't remember off the top of my head. He might have, but I wasn't paying attention to that.
Fair enough.
I did notice that he looked younger, and that's how I knew it was a flashback.
Yeah, no, he's like, I want to say like 6 years younger at the beginning of the flashback, or I guess whenever he fights that guy whose armor is just made out of soccer balls, and then runs off and gets in a fight with Casca and Griffith. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but that first episode is really interesting because, like, it kind of sets up this, like, they're doomed from the start idea where, like, you know, like, we already know what's going to become of the world, like, after everything that happens in the show. So it's just kind of like this interesting, like, almost like a prophecy of what's to come. And I think that prophecies kind of come up, like, a lot in the show.
So,
you know?
So Josh, do you have any idea what happens next?
What happens next in this show?
Yeah, like
Not
after
really.
this.
No.
Okay, you've got no clue?
No clue.
Okay. Would you like a hint? Because I'm not going to say anything explicit that happens, but...
no, I don't want any hints.
Okay.
But... Okay. But yeah, but after that, like, first episode where we get introduced to, like, this dark fantasy, like, future world, and, like... Oh, okay, another really interesting thing the first episode does is that, like, it it's the first time I mean, like, it gives us like an introduction to the fact that this is a fantasy world, right? Like, that doesn't really come up until like later on in the actual like Golden Age
Right.
episodes
He
where
we've only the only indications that it's like at all fantasy is this man's carrying a big fucking sword and he's got a repeating crossbow on his arm that he just cranks and it shoots.
yeah, but like, and then you get like the that Baylet necklace, and that's a little bit fantastical, but like it also like it
Right,
could exist in the
initially
real
it's
world or something.
presented kind of like as not real, right? It's like a
Yeah.
trinket that he picked up and it
Uh-huh.
doesn't actually do anything. It's just aha, it's a silly little thing I have.
Yeah, like I think that that's kind of smart because like you understand like in the reality of like where they're at that they that like Guts probably thinks that that's just like bullshit, but like that later on that there is the possibility that like you know fantastical stuff is happening. So
Right.
and then like you get confirmation of that like later on with the big demon dude whose name I forget. Shit.
Nosferatu Zod. I
Yeah,
love I
Zod.
love how Guts is characterized as like he's vaguely like uh, I don't grounded. He's very grounded in his ideas of what the real world are. He doesn't just
Hmm.
go along with this shit like a lot of other like protag coons do, you know. He
Yeah.
like he fights it. He's like that's hey man, that necklace you got winked at me and that was fucking weird. Um or like bruh, how did this dude just like block this shit? He must be a monster. I'm gonna try and stab him again. And he stabs him, and then he turns into a fucking I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a big gorilla or something with like what is
Yes.
Nosferatu Zod?
Okay, so like obviously like Nosferatu is like a reference to like the 20s German like knockoff Dracula movie.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? Like so like presumed like when they started referencing him in dialogue that he was like a vampire, and he kind of fits that mold
He
a little
looks like an
bit. He like
upright chimera.
yeah, kind of like that.
Not
Like
not in the fucking Full Metal Alchemist sense. Y'all stop thinking about that. This is a different show now. Come on, guys, keep up. But in like the classic Castlevania, like ancient mythology, bull body, scorpion tail, lion head. He's got wings. Like that's what he looks like.
yeah, so like it's like a vaguely fantasy world where like fantasy things can happen, but like they're super uncommon to the point that like people don't actually like believe them until they happen to them personally.
Right,
So,
that's really interesting. It's not a world where like magic is commonplace. It's a world where magic is very much treated like in the real world, like in meat space, like the place where Brogan and Josh actually exist. Um, like we don't believe in magic because we don't see magic happen. But if it just fucking happened, it'd be like, yo, did you see that shit right now? Hey man,
you don't believe in magic?
we gotta get out of here. That shit was wacky.
You don't believe in magic?
Uh, here's story time. When I turned 11, like on my 11th birthday, in fact, on the whole week leading up to my 11th birthday, no time before and no time since, I shit you not, a snow white owl landed in my front yard every single day of the week of my 11th birthday.
Wow.
And so
Okay.
I had no thoughts beforehand about going to fucking Hogwarts, and I had no thoughts like 2 weeks later. But for that 3 week period, where for the week of my birthday, an owl started showing up at my house, and I'd never seen one before.
Hmm.
Josh, I was convinced I was a wizard. I was.
Yeah, you like heard the John Williams music in your head and you were like, damn,
I
I
was
gotta like
I
pack my
was
shit.
convinced I was a wizard, and my parents let me think it too because they were like, "Oh yeah, wait, that's cool as shit." And I was like, "Right, that's cool as shit. I'm a wizard, y'all." I'm not a wizard.
I think you're a wizard. I think you're a wizard of charm and um uh yeah, let's move on.
A wizard of charm. I think that's a D&D bard.
So like another thing that's like really apparent like early on in the show is that like apart from just about everything else we covered in the show, these guys don't have a budget. Like
Oh yeah. Oh
I'm
yeah.
sorry, like, I'm not gonna judge the show for that because, like, I think they overcome it in a lot of really interesting ways. But like, you can tell, like, a lot of the time that they just don't have the money for the polish.
Oh yeah.
Like,
It's
hmm
I think it looks incredible. There's a lot of times where characters are off model, or all kinds of
hmm
shit. But it is
but
so like interesting to me how much they focus on like the intimate character interactions over the action in this show.
yeah, the show is pretty slow, which was kind of surprising to me. Like, there are action bits here and there, but like generally speaking, like, it's a lot of people talking and, like they definitely do that to like cut costs or whatever, but it makes you feel like more grounded in the world because it's not just like an action fight fest, there's like real stuff going on, you
Right.
know? hmm
And
And
just
the art direct,
the art
no,
direction and the music.
yeah.
The
hmm
music fucking sell it. I
Uh,
Oh my god, you go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, like I've got one little complaint about the music, and that is that like sometimes there's like some electronic sounds in the music, and it's kind of weird, and I don't like it. Like you noticed this too, right?
I don't think I did. No.
Or like I don't know if it's just like the dub or whatever, but the but like sometimes like a track will just have like a synth keyboard playing, and it just like it feels so asynchronous with the show like that it pulls me out and I don't like it. But like the normal like ambient music is generally pretty good. I didn't notice it too much to be honest, but you know,
Every time
uh,
Guts' theme kicked in, it hit me in the feels.
I have a hard time noticing music in movies generally anyway. Like
Really?
yeah, I don't know why. Like I just don't notice it very often unless it's like specifically pronounced, you know?
Huh. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Um what was I gonna say? There was something about
Art direction.
animation. Yeah, art direction or animation that I wanted to talk about. Like, okay, so like the shit. So like the interesting thing about this show is that like while it doesn't have a big budget, like it's kind of sad because like, you look at the studios like the studio that made this, it was a studio called Oriental Light and Magic, and what they're best known for is the Pokemon animated anime series, which like that started
What?
the same. Yeah, they've done like the Pokemon anime series, like and all of the movies related to it since 1997, and they started it the year that this show came out. So like if they had like done the Pokemon anime and it had blown up and then they went to do Berserk, they probably would have had the budget to make this look like 20 times better,
No
you know?
fucking way.
Yeah, but because they happened to like do both projects in the same year, like this show just doesn't have like the budget to do like crazy
I
things.
can
Not that that really
totally
matters,
see
but
that. I can totally see that, especially in like the the painting style in the
yeah.
background art.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
it's
like
not one to one, but I can totally see
uh-huh.
it.
Yeah. Um so like that's just kind of like an interesting what if, but like I don't think that this show is like apart from like some janky like character animation every now and again, like I think this show overcomes the budgetary limitations pretty well. Like one interesting thing it does is that like whenever it has like a specific moment that it wants to do and wants to make it look really cool, instead of like doing the normal thing where like they animate the whole like shot or sequence like as a whole animated thing, they just create one like big great tableau, you know?
Right.
And it usually has like this kind of like, how do I describe it? Like a painted aesthetic that like is very distinct from the rest of the animation, and it just stands out and feels really like bold and important, and like sells the moment even though they're saving the money on the actual animating of that moment.
I love the concept of it. I think all of them are ugly as sin.
God damn. I thought you were going to really appreciate it as like, you know, somebody who read the manga and was like, you know,
It doesn't look anything like the manga.
it doesn't look like, you know,
Not
like,
really.
I imagine it looked kind of like not exactly 1-to-1, but I felt like it would share like the spirit of that.
It
But
does.
not really.
And then again, I haven't read this arc.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I know, those are. It's not like what they do in. I don't know. I don't know where that example is coming from. It didn't seem to me like they were exact panel recreations. Because it just didn't seem to fit the style of Mura to me. But that's mostly based off of like the pages that people show people to get them into Berserk. Yeah. Like my concept for Berserk art is that one of the fucking suit of armor. I don't know who's in it. I'm assuming it's Guts. And it's just it looks like the particle effects from Dark Souls 3 with like the darkness, and it's just gorgeous. So when I think of Berserk, I think of that, and so I'm retroactively applying that to what I think the old stuff would be like. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm completely biased on this. Like, don't listen to me.
Okay, so like, where was I going with this? I had a thought. God damn it. Fuck me. Shit. What was my thought? It was something else that was kind of related to like the style or something. Like
you were talking about the Pokemon Studio and how they did this just before they did Pokemon.
Yeah, but I think that was like the whole of that thought, which is just kind of like the what if they had made Pokemon before Berserk and
had the budget,
you know, and then had the budget as a result.
Yeah,
you know, like I don't know, like apart from what I said is like apart from character jankiness occasionally, like the show does a good job, I think.
Right.
At like just making it look like presentable, you know? Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. It's like also the other thing that I think is like really like changed stylistically from the manga is its approach to gore, from what I know. Because like from what I know the manga is just like a lot more like detailed in its gruesomeness, but here there's just like here it just uses like a lot of like really bright vibrant red blood splatters.
Oh, Josh, do you know about the horse?
The horse?
Oh,
no,
man.
I don't.
That's required reading, man. Look up Berserk horse.
Fuck me, I'm gonna regret looking this up.
I'm doing it too, yeah.
Oh boy. That doesn't look pretty.
It's not.
Ooh.
Oh, did you see the fucking clip from the 2016 show?
No. No, I'm gonna try sending this to you. Hang on. It's okay. It is.
Oh my god! Okay.
It is.
Do you want to do it or do you want me to?
I'm gonna describe it. So it is it is like a horse from the show, and like it is, I don't know what it's doing in the context of this, but like they've taken the horse and like superimposed like Rick Sanchez's face onto it, and the quotes say, "I turned myself into a rape horse,
Harness.
Farness. I'm rape horse Rick." And then she says, "Funniest shit I've ever seen." I don't know. I feel like I should cut this out because it's kind of uh,
No,
uh,
that's just the Berserk rape horse.
it's just. I
That's a
really
thing.
hope this
If
doesn't.
no, I'm putting this in here explicitly to say that that's the kind of dark that it gets to. Like this shit does eventually get way more fucked up than it currently is.
Which, like, it does actually get pretty fucked up, like, in the last couple episodes, you know?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it got worse than I thought it was going to be. Like, it went from, like, the worst things that were happening were, like, some, like, general warfare and stuff like that, to, like, like, child sex slaves, you know? It, it
Yeah.
went from, it went from, like, it went from, like, a 5 to an 11 really fast, is what I'd say. I don't know. It's not quite 11. I don't know. Maybe I should backtrack that. Can it get worse than child sex slaves?
Oh, it
Really?
can
Like,
because you've seen Rape Horse. It can
please tell me
tell you
this
what.
isn't part of this, is it?
No, I this is not part of the Golden Age arc.
Thank you. That's all.
This
I
is
want to
not part of
know.
the Golden Age arc.
Thank you. Fuck. We haven't even talked about like the actual content of the show yet. We're like 40 minutes in.
So we'll take an
Or
ad
some
break
shit.
and then talk about the contents of this show. How about that?
All right. We'll be back after this ad break.
We're back.
And we are back.
We're back.
All right. Let's actually get into like the meat and potatoes of this show. So like just like I'm gonna give like a general summary of like the gist of what happens. Like I'm not gonna try to get into bogged down by
Yeah,
detail, but
we've not doing these ones as like detail oriented shit. We're doing this as like concept oriented shit because there's
yeah.
just too much detail to worry
Mhm.
about that when we can like
Yeah.
already we're at 49 minutes recording and we haven't really said
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, but just in case like you didn't rewatch this for this episode or like, you're just deciding to listen to this episode blind or whatever, like here's like a general summary of what happens. So basically like we live in this world where like it's like a medieval like light fantasy. I mean, not light fantasy because it's pretty dark, but like the fantasy element is pretty light for the most part. And there's this character named Guts who's like kind of a mercenary and just kind of going around like just doing random jobs. And then like one day he comes across this man named Griffith who like he initially fights with, but eventually Griffith is just like so impressed with him that he lets him join their little like group or whatever. And like initially you think that it's just like another mercenary group, but it turns out they're actually like this like kind of like a rebellion group, right? Like they're rebelling to a certain extent. And
Um Not necessarily. I don't think they're really rebelling it. They're definitely just a mercenary group. I think of it as kind of like Militaires Sans Frontières from Peace Walker or like Metal Gear
yeah.
Solid 5.
Hmm. Yeah, like they're definitely like a mercenary group, but they have like greater political
Right. They
intentions than
have, well,
that.
The greater political intention is that Griffith wants to be a king.
Yeah, like I don't think that's ever explicitly stated, but like
It might be
it's
later,
it's
but
clear.
Griffith
Yeah,
wants to become a king.
yeah. So like that's basically like the general setup is that like, and there's like a war going on between like two countries. I believe they're Midland and Tudor, correct? Those are
Something
the two
like that.
names. Huh?
Something like that.
Yeah. So and the this group of this group called like the Band of the Hawks or something,
Yep.
I think, right? Yeah. They basically join up with the Midland Empire to like put an end to this 100-year war, and in the meanwhile Griffith is using this to like ascend to power. So that's like the general gist of the show,
Yeah, so a
you
lot of what
know?
you have happening is um, it's pretty solely focused on Guts's perspective. So a
Hmm.
lot of the time you're following Guts, but
Yeah.
you've got these large scale battles where it's like that old trope where like great men meet on the battlefield. So you've got all these soldier 1, soldier 2 and soldier 3s fighting in the background, and then you've got like the
Hmm.
general of this army and Guts just duking it out in the center. There's like a circle of dudes watching them, and it's like just a good old like
Yeah.
duel in the middle of a fucking war
Yeah.
zone.
Hmm. Yeah. So
And
that's
then the
that's like
other
the
half of
general
it
setup.
is like
Uh-huh.
Griffith's. It's vaguely focused on like the political climate of the area and just the
Yeah.
character interactions between Guts and all these people.
Hmm. I like that the show doesn't make it too complicated. Like, I briefly got into Game of Thrones. Like, I've watched like the first season and then a few episodes after that, but like my problem was that it just got way too complicated. Like all the political like intrigue and stuff got way too like, I couldn't keep up with all of it. And I like how this kind of keeps it simple, you know? Like, I don't know if that's how it is in
Yeah.
the manga, because the manga is a way more expansive work, but
Mm-hmm.
like, this show just like it keeps it fairly simple. There's two countries, and this guy's trying to ascend the power structure of one of them, and we're following the perspective of like his second in command, essentially. So,
But the thing about it is, and I think the reason they do that, or I think that the reason Mura did that, is this is not necessarily about that. This is about the
mhm,
people.
yeah.
So the war is not important. The only reason that they're fighting in the war is to follow Griffith's dream. Um,
Hmm.
and the only reason they're all coalesced behind Griffith is because they've all given up on uh,
Yeah.
their own dreams. Um,
Yeah, that's a fascinating, but that's kind of what makes Griffith like a really fascinating character, is that like, he kind of has like this philosophical cognizance of the fact that like his goals are impeding on the goals of others, and like he kind of has like a mental like breakdown about that at a certain point where he just like he essentially like very very early on, like, well, not very early on in the show, but like late
very
into the
early
show there's a
on, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, very early on in his own like political career or whatever. He's not political career, but anyway, I'm getting bogged down by all these words. Um anyway, very early on in like his
Podcaster. I'm getting bogged down by all these words.
anyway, like very early on in his quest or whatever, he witnesses like a kid die or whatever, like a kid he brought under his own wing, and that kid dies, and like he suddenly realizes that like his goals are like, you know, they're taking away like the lives and the dreams of other people, and like he initially like has like a breakdown about this, and like starts basically like selling himself uh to this like lord to pay for their to pay for their like whatever they're doing. So, like, and like eventually I believe he gets off of that, but like at a certain maybe but like he's cognizant of the fact that his dreams are getting in the way of like other people's dreams, and not only that but their own lives. But he he eventually kind of like um he eventually kind of rationalizes it as like my dream is more important than theirs, therefore the sacrifice is worthy.
I think there's also like just enough charm in him that he can convince people to come along with him.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I
Like,
think I think it's more of a. I think he's definitely willing to harbor people who have given up on their dreams, but I don't think he's actively forcing anybody to give up their dreams. I think they just have, and this is the thing that they're doing now.
yeah, he's not forcing anyone to do it, but like he's also like he's put himself in like this philosophical high ground where his thing is more important than their thing, and therefore if they're willing to give up their lives for him, like that's not
He's
his
willing to,
problem.
yeah, right. He's willing to take
Yeah.
advantage of that.
Hmm.
Now, here's the thing, Josh. You said you don't know anything. What's your read on all the characters? Like, I want a halfway point for what you think all these characters do by the end of the show.
Fuck me. Like, shit, you're asking me to do predictions, and I never do predictions because I'm not good at predicting stuff. I'm very bad at that. But you're basically asking me to predict where like these characters are going.
Yeah, what
Like,
happens? What happens to? I'll narrow it down. What happens to Guts, Griffith, and Kafka? Casca.
okay, so I'm gonna say that I'm gonna start with Griffith first because like he's like the primary like driving force of the plot,
Okay.
I'd say. So like Griffith first. So I think Griffith like gets like either eventually ascends to the point of kinghood, or he gets very very close before like dying in battle or something.
Okay.
That seems like that seems like a very poetic thing. And then I imagine that like Casca eventually like I don't know, Casca's a bit of a wild card because like I don't know, I have problems with her characterization. So uh anyway, I'm gonna like put a pin in that one. And then Guts, my opinion is that he's going to fight with Griffith until the end, and then when Griffith dies he just moves on and does his own thing.
Okay.
That's that's my read.
That's a pretty good read. I'd say from this
Yeah.
point of the story, this perspective, that's a pretty good read.
Yeah. Um I don't know, like do we want to talk about Casca? Like,
Yeah, let's talk about Casca. What do you want to talk about
like
Casca about?
Casca's characterization kind of bothers me.
How so?
Like, don't get me wrong, I think that it's valuable to have her presence there, and I don't think that the show is I think the show is intentionally trying to like, empower her, definitely,
Yeah.
but I think it falls short in a lot of ways, particularly in like that those last two episodes where she is just like constantly getting berated for being a woman, and like constantly like having to get saved by men, and just it doesn't feel like she's getting like her own like value, I suppose. Like it's
Right.
definitely like
I totally get that, and it's weird too because they're making such a big point of everyone who's saying that she's less valuable at what she's doing because she's a woman. They're like explicitly being shown as being dickheads for saying that. So like I don't understand why, and I understand how physically this scenario plays out because I mean, well, no, I don't because Casca. I don't know. I just think it's weird that they keep putting her in situations that are like
they keep putting her into situations where she like she cannot. I mean, well, she either cannot save herself or like she just ends up not saving herself. Like,
Right.
she, especially in those last two episodes, where like she gets cornered on the side of the cliff by the by that general dude, and then like, you know, I mean, obviously she like, she's cornered on a cliff. She doesn't have much place to go, but like, but at the same time, then like she like gets saved by Guts, and that's, like, getting saved once by a male character. I don't have a problem with that, but like then she literally just like randomly faints and falls off the cliff. Like, it seems pretty random to me anyway. Like,
Well, no, no, no. What happens was, she got shot, right, or like stabbed or something.
did
Or
she?
no, no, no. She was sick. She was sick.
I thought she was just sick because she fell into the
No,
river.
no, no. She was sick when she went onto the battlefield. I think she.
Oh,
I
I
think.
guess I'm.
I think there was like an insinuation that she was like she was either really sick or she was like on her period and having like a bad time of it. Or I think there's some
Oh,
insinuation that she might be pregnant or something. I don't know. There's some because they talk about like I don't know. There's something about like illness there. Like she was not feeling well when she went onto the battlefield that day. And there
hmm.
was also the combination of that and just like weeks and weeks and weeks and 3 years now of the guy that I've devoted my entire life to found a new best friend and has been completely ignoring me.
We can talk about getting cucked later, but um, but I don't know. Like, she feels. It just feels like they constantly like do like they don't do the legwork of actually empowering her. They just do a lot of like, you know, the obvious, guy gets dialogue where he's definitely being like sexist, and it's just like blatant, but like then the show doesn't do the legwork of actually giving her like any significant amount of empowerment beyond getting to kill like, I don't know, half a dozen dudes. Which, like, killing half a dozen dudes sounds like a lot of empowerment just saying it out loud, but like in the
But then you
context of this
compare it to
show,
Guts, who literally
every
kills hundreds
yeah,
of dudes.
yeah, every other like significant male character in this show like is exceptionally good at killing people. So Casca feels like the outlier who is getting a lot of screen time, but also feels like the least competent of the bunch. You know,
Right.
so it feels a little bit double edged to me. Like, it's not double edged, but like it feels a little bit like two faced, I guess, where like, it's trying to feel like one thing, but it's not doing the work to actually be that thing.
I think the way it hits for me is I think that I get a genuine sense for all of these characters, kind of like what they've been doing and what they've sort of been through, or at least not like explicitly, but like a vibe for it that
Yeah.
just from the way that they interact with one another and the way like the things that are divulged in their backstory, I feel like the way Mura writes is every single person is a complete character study. Like every main
Mm.
character is a complete character study, looking into some some sort of like
Yeah.
mindset or mentality or concoction of mental demons. Like
Hmm.
everyone has a lot of shit. Like I get the feeling that everyone's got a lot of baggage, and so that the way their characters act are more a result of their baggage. I feel like it's intentional, right? Like I don't think it's just like a
Mm.
weak portrayal. I feel like it's intentional.
I mean that. I mean, that's kind of interesting because like she does have these moments where it feels like she's like internalizing the sexism of her world, where like she is like literally, I mean, she is like um she's just internalizing all that sexism, I guess, and like, the ability, I mean, like the thought that she'll never like value to anything, you know,
Right.
like to a certain extent, like that could be true, and so like that internalization leads to her like not always being as empowered as she could be, maybe. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, kinda. Just like
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said for the the backstories of these characters are existent. I feel like there's a lore Bible out there, right? That
Yeah.
is all the shit that Mura was thinking about. He wrote it all down into a coherent piece of text and then made this.
Yeah, like I get the read. I just on a like on an emotional level, it feels very it just doesn't feel like it does enough to make that work, I
Mm.
guess.
I think
You
I'm
know.
also looking at it that way because I know that there's like a One Piece's worth of shit out there about Berserk outside of this.
Okay. So, yeah, I understand that. Like
Like
the
there's a fuck ton before, like not a fuck ton. There's like a good bit before this and a fuck ton after it.
mhm. And like you're superimposing all that context onto this show.
Right, and so I'm superimposing that context onto my read of this show because it makes me feel like, and especially the way that I've heard people talk about this, and
Hmm.
like the way that it's been described to me, it makes me have faith that these things are intentional and not just like poor characterization. These are characters who are who they were meant to be by the creator, not just like, oh, this is
Yeah.
what the creator thinks women are like.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to make like a full statement on that because like of course this isn't even the complete version of this show.
Right.
So, I don't know, like without the context, maybe I'll backtrack everything I said earlier and be like, "Oh, everything makes sense now because of this, this and this in these later episodes." But like in the
Right.
now, I feel like it falls a bit short.
Fair enough.
And yeah. Um So, do we want to get into like the heaviness of Guts' trauma, or do we want to find a fun thing to sparse this out?
I don't think there's
Like, we can
what.
talk about.
What's the fun thing, Josh?
I don't know. We can talk about like a little bit of the homoeroticism of Guts and Griffith. Like, that's that feels like it's a thing, right? Like, I'm not just making that up, right?
I don't know.
Please
I don't
validate
know
my
what.
opinion.
I've seen this kind of relationship before, and I
Hmm.
don't know how much of it is like homoeroticism or if it's all like a play on something from like Japanese folklore or if it's just like a societal norm there, more like just for guys to like form much deeper companionship, or if that's like a thing that's
Yeah.
more heavily approved than it is here.
Hmm.
Um, Cause like it's the same way in Devilman Crybaby, and it's kind of the same way in Dragon Ball, or Dragon Ball Z
Mm.
at least. Like not nearly to the same extent, but like, you know,
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like, I don't know that either. So I guess we can only give like our American read on this, which is like, you know, the scene where they're throwing buckets of water at each other and Griffith is totally nude is pretty gay. Just like
no man,
from
that's
an
just dudes
American
being
standpoint.
bros. It's just dudes being bros.
And like the way that like Guts's like relationship to him like evolves over time, like it's certainly like a leader, I mean like a leader and soldier kind of thing, but it's also like it definitely has like some vibes of like, like I'm in love with this dude and then there's like the honeymoon period where like it seems like their relationship is going off really smoothly, but then things kind of drift apart where like he suddenly realizes, wait, I'm just a pawn to this guy. Like,
Oh
like
my god. I
I'm a
almost
really valuable pawn, but like I'm also just a pawn.
There were so many places that I could say are like pivotal for the rest of this.
Uh
That was one of them. I could have said we could have cut it there.
huh.
Like actually.
Yeah, like
And I think that was
that's
like 4 episodes ago or some shit. I
yeah,
think it was like
like that
episode
was
7.
yeah, that's just the moment where like his relationship with Griffith really changes, where like he basically overhears Charlotte and Griffith like philosophizing about like um war and then like leadership and what and uh basically Charlotte asks him like, you think of your soldiers as friends, right? Or something like that. And he's like, No, like, in order for somebody to be my friend, they have to be my equal, you
Right.
know?
He's like, they're great, but nah.
And like that just like completely destroys Griffith because like,
Guts.
he thought that they had like this like far more like intimate companion relationship at the very least, but
Right.
now it's like now it's just like, damn, dude, like I can't even be your friend, like.
Right. Like
But yeah,
I'm just literally like, but here's the thing though, and I'm only doing this because I saw a video today called Griffith Did Nothing Wrong. Um, like he may not see them as equals or as friends, but I think that like for a lot of people he characterizes friends differently. Like
hmm,
he has friends the way everybody else has friends, but then you've got like those two or three really close, really good friends who you see as your equals in every way, um, but will challenge you in an
yeah,
instant to fight for what they dream for. Like I think
yeah,
everybody has like the two layers. He just
hmm,
distinguishes that as one layer and then everything below him. But there's still like a
yeah,
respect there and like a caring.
hmm, yeah. I understand that.
But also, the guy's just a psychopath from the very
Uh
beginning.
huh.
Can we acknowledge this?
Yeah, like it's clear from the onset, I think, that like he's a little off. Like he's got like this whole band of dudes, and he's like, he's got like this big moral quest or whatever, but like it's all about him really. Like he has this thing with him that's like, some kind of like, I don't know, like a good luck charm or
It's
something.
called a
Like it's
Balet.
the yeah, the Bailet, and like it basically fuels his ego into believing that like he is the chosen one who should like rule over everyone. Like he definitely has like a sociopathic like, you know, or
Right.
not sociopathic, but like a, just like an internal belief that he is like better and more worthy than everyone else.
Right. Yeah, no,
And
definitely.
yeah, and that eventually leads him to do like some shitty things, like, you know, hiring Guts to kill off a dude, and then Guts ends up killing a child along the way. So,
Yeah, no,
this
for
show
real.
gets rough.
It the show does get rough. The show gets rougher, Josh.
Yeah, like that, like, destroyed me. Like, Guts is a really complicated character. Like, just like a big bag of, like, previous trauma, and like that just kind of keeps reverberating like throughout his whole life. But like this distinctly felt like a mirror of his like initial trauma, the being the like the murder of his like adopted father figure, I suppose.
Right.
Like,
That's something that they touch on. Guts has just had it real bad since day one.
mhm.
They say he was born from a corpse.
Yeah, like I just imagine that like, his mother died or whatever, and then like like died during childbirth, and then
Right.
they got him out and he survived,
No, I'm
but she
actually
didn't.
pretty sure that there's like a panel of this. Hold on.
Oh my god. I mean, like, at least on like a thematic level, that's kind of how I read it. They were kind of vague about it, but
Oh,
I,
fuck. No, wait, there is a panel of this, and it's way worse than I thought.
shit, you're sending this to me.
Yeah.
Oh no.
See if
Oh
you can find
fuck.
guts in this picture.
Oh wow. That's wow. That is really, 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 really upsetting. Oh my god.
Yeah, holy shit. So yeah, when they say he was born from a corpse, yeah, he
They mean
was.
it.
He
They mean
was.
it.
They mean it.
Like, they really do mean
They
it.
mean it.
Wow, that is an upsetting
They
image.
mean it a lot. So here I'm getting the feeling that Josh is getting uncomfortable with Berserk. And so Josh, I want to ask you, after you finish this, do you think I'm going to ask you again at the end of the next set, but as of right now, are you willing to continue Berserk?
Do you mean like as the manga or like as the new show or like
No,
how do you
right,
mean?
like you're locked in, so you can't you even if you say no, you have to. But are you like willingly expecting the next set of episodes knowing what you know?
Oh, the next set of episodes,
Yeah.
not like the
Yeah, no, I'll
oh,
ask you
okay.
about the manga when we get done next session.
I
Like
mean,
next week.
like this is upsetting, but I can deal with it. Like, I think I've seen some upsetting shit, like, you know,
Rape
but
Horse Rick.
huh?
Like Rape Horse Rick.
Rick Force Rick is incredibly upsetting. I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna share this. Like, I'm not gonna share the Rape Horse Rick thing. Like, look it up if you want to, but like I wouldn't recommend it. 0 out of 10.
Other thoughts, Josh? What do you got for me?
Other thoughts. I mean, let me look at my notes here, see if there's anything like interesting. I mean, we gotta talk about the long sword. We gotta talk about the long
It's just a
sword.
big long sword. It's called the Dragon Slayer sword, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, like there's a name for it? I don't
Yeah.
think they ever dropped the name in the show.
Yeah. Dragon Slayer sword. Berserk. Dragon
I mean, that's
Slayer
a
sword, yeah.
I mean, that's a fantastic sword. Like,
Oh wait, maybe this isn't the Dragon Slayer. Maybe the one he has right now isn't the Dragon Slayer. Oh no, the one he has in the Golden Age arc is not the Dragon Slayer. I'm so sorry guys. I fucked it up.
fucked it up.
I fucked it up.
Damn, dude.
Guts
Damn.
first sword. Does he have any other sword that Oh, it's just Guts first sword.
Okay, so
The one he has at first is just like a claymore.
yeah.
It's just a
All
really
right.
big fucking
Just
claymore.
big, fucking massive. Okay, so we need to talk about like we need to talk about Korpowitz and like just his general like stupidity.
It's so wild to
Like
me that he exists in this world. Like he's such an anime character from a different anime that just like
he's such a dipshit.
right, like talking about like, oh, this is the special spear technique that I learned from the. It's the Armstrong family for generations.
Yeah.
Meme.
Yeah, like he is like the Armstrongs if the Armstrongs were just like
He's the guy
total
that the
idiots.
Armstrongs are making fun of.
Yeah. Like he's basically like this is general a commander, I guess, who's like his basic goal is to like protect the defenses against the Midland Empire. He's like on the other side, and like basically every time he's assigned to do anything, he underestimates the band of the Hawks and like just absolutely gets his ass handed to him every time.
Right. It's it's very weird. It's just like tonally dissonant to me from what I expect from the rest of this show.
Yeah, it is really different. Like I think it I don't know if it works in this show, but like I enjoy it while it's happening. Like I just enjoy like the weird like arrogant incompetence energy he gives off. And
Fair
then
enough.
pair that with like his lackeys who like very clearly don't give a shit about what they're doing
And
and
also
like are
don't trust him
constantly,
at all.
yeah, they don't trust him, they don't give a shit. They constantly like correct him about shit. Like
Which
just
like
like, well, what about this thing you're not considering? And he's like, oh, we don't have to worry about that. They'll never do that. And then they do it.
I also think that it's very interesting that like there's such a distinct um like explicit difference. Like it's polar opposites between the Band of the Hawks and the Blue Whale Army or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Like, because that guy, if you think about it, is like a direct opposite of Griffith.
Mm-hmm.
Uncharismatic, uh, cowardly, um, unmotivated,
Brash, arrogant.
brash, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like
And none of
he
his
is
men
the
trust him.
complete
None of his
opposite.
men respect him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, like I just love the scene where like, he knows that, I mean, like he has like that bridge fort or whatever, and like he just like completely drops the ball and like it ends up getting sieged, and he's like, okay, we got to get out of here, and he like goes underneath with a raft, and like his dudes are trying to climb on with him, and he's like kicking him off. It's just funny, like, and like for a show that like almost never has any amount of levity on it in it, for some reason I just don't mind this one particular
Right?
character
It's
because he's
just
such a
such
bumbling idiot.
cartoon energy.
Yeah, like, and definitely like he comes into play like later on in the show, so like, as like the show's getting into heavier stuff, like there's a little bit more of a balance with this guy where like, there's a little bit of levity with him.
Right, there's a point where he's like definitely taken more seriously.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. um I don't know. Anything else we really want to talk about? Like,
Well, I
shoot.
mean, that's his big fucking sword.
Yeah. Um.
We hit Nosferatu Zod.
Yeah.
We talked about Casca. We talked a little bit about Griffith. I think we should wait to talk more about Griffith until next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, you know,
All right. Yeah. I think that's just about all we've got for this
I think
right
that's
now.
Berserk.
Anyway. Yeah. Well, it's not. It's Berserk Part One,
Berserk Part 1.
because next week, dear listeners, we're going to be talking about Berserk again, and
Net 2 weeks from now. Next episode.
yeah, 2 weeks from now, not next episode. Next episode is going to be on the Patreon, and that's going to be covering Interstellar 5555, the secret. Hang on, I gotta look up this fucking title because I always forget it. The Story of the Secret Star System, which is a 2003 animated film. That's a musical science fiction anime. So um,
Very cool.
come come in for that. It'll be fun. We'll talk about like how I haven't listened to nearly enough Daft Punk, and it'll be fun. I just don't have culture. That's the problem. Like, we should have called this podcast "How to Culture,"
Out the
and like,
culture.
and you're just introducing me to like, Britney Spears or whatever. I don't know. Like,
Is Britney
what do
Spill
people listen to?
is Britney
What do
Spears
people?
still culture?
What do people listen to? I heard about her on the radio this morning, but like,
I mean, I'll show
what do
you what
people?
I listen to, but I don't think I listen to the same things a lot of people listen to.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember to like look at my Discover Weekly more often, but I always forget about it and just play the same shit. Anyways,
Anyways,
so Interstellar 5555 exclusive to the Patreon next Friday, and then the Friday after that we'll be back with more Berserk. We're just gonna say the same things a second time. We're literally going to like take the transcript of this conversation and just repeat it and say, but man, every time we make a point, we're gonna say, but more so for these episodes. That's how it's gonna
you
work.
can email us at howtootaku@gmail.com. You can find us on
Yeah.
Twitter at howtootaku. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. We've been getting a lot of fun engagement on our Instagram posts, so I'm hoping that starts to track over to listens. Cause
Yeah, for some reason we're really popping on Instagram, which is
yeah,
weird because like
our Instagram
it's
gets like a bunch of unique likes every time we post, which is really cool. We don't get that interaction on other platforms. So shout out to Instagram. If you found us through Instagram, hit us
yeah,
up. Yeah, that's fucking rad.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And did you share your personal plugs?
Brogan Live. If you like Brogan, you love Brogan Live. Twitch, Twitter. That's
All
about
right.
it.
And you can follow me at JD Thorn Film on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. If you care about what I think about movies, you can follow me at JD Thorn on Letterboxd. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Okay. Funniest shit I've ever seen this episode.
Funniest shit I've ever seen.
um,
What was your favorite?
anyway.
What was your favorite scene of explicit abuse?
Scene of explicit. That's such
I
a
really like
terrible
it when
question
Griffith
because like
gaslights people. I think that's fun and quirky. I really like. It's really cool when Guts' adoptive father beat him over the head with a stick. That was cool.
Are we talking about favorite as in like favorite execution, or are we talking about favorite as like
Moment of abuse, Josh.
moment? Shit, fuck. I don't know. Like, the kid was kind of annoying.
Josh, you wanted him to kill the kid?